Somewhere I Belong, Chapter 10, Part 3. Across Ponyville, Twilight, Rarity, and Fluttershy were sitting in the Golden Oaks library for some afternoon tea, when an exhausted orange mare burst through the door. "Have y'all seen Isaac around here?" she asked as she tried to catch her breath. "No, why?" Twilight said as she walked over to her friend. "I just want to find him before Mac kills him." "Why would Big Macintosh want to kill Isaac?" Rarity said with a laugh. AJ's face lit up as the memories of the human came rushing back. You see, she was cut off as Rainbow flew into the room with a smug grin on her face. AJ got a little frisky with our human friend, she said as she wiggled her eyebrows. Applejack bit her lip and her blush intensified. The mares looked at the farmer in shock, while Rainbow looked at her friend with a smirk. "So, how was it?" "It was, oh to hell with it. It was spectacular," she said as she sat down on the couch. "Was he telling the truth? Did he last 10 minutes? Rarity asked. "No." "I knew he was lying," Rainbow yelled. "Let me finish. He lasted for 20, she said in a satisfied tone. The mare's jaws dropped. "You're lying." "I'm not," the farmer stammered. Rarity matched her eyes with the orange mare and took a moment to examine her gaze. "She's telling the truth," Rarity said in amazement. "Oh my," Fluttershy said as she blushed. "So, how was it?" Twilight asked. "It was wonderful, like seeing the first apple of the season fall from the tree. And then Mac showed up." The mares let out a collective gasp. Rainbow was on the ground in a fit of laughter. "Mac walked in on you guys while you were—" "No, he didn't see that, but he put the pieces together," she said as she let out a sigh. The ponies were interrupted by a familiar gray Pegasus mare walking into the library with a tall tan earth pony stallion wearing a brown suit and a bow tie. "Howdy, Ditzy." "Hey guys, have you seen Isaac?" "No, we were just going to go look for him." "Why?" Rainbow interjected. "I have someone he needs to meet." "Hello, I'm the doctor," the tan stallion said with a smile. "Doctor who?" Twilight asked. "Just the doctor, and I understand that there's a human living here." "Yeah, why?" "He's an expert on humans," Ditzy added. The stallion sat down in a nearby chair and smiled. "Really? You've met humans before?" Twilight said in excitement. "Yes, such an interesting race they are." "What can you tell us about them?" "What do you want to know?" "Everything." The doctor looked at the mare in surprise and got to his feet. "Be careful around them." "Why? Isaac is cool," Rainbow said with a grin. "Still, humans are chaotic by nature and can become extremely hard to handle when they're enraged," he said with a sigh. "They can be very persistent." "What do you mean?" Twilight asked. "No matter how far they fall, or however far they fall, they will never give up. They can fall from heights that would seem impossible, and then rise higher than ever before. Figuratively speaking, that is." "They're that strong?" Applejack asked. "You have no idea. If anything, they're resourceful, making things you can't even begin to imagine. It's their greatest strength, and greatest curse." "Tell me how all of this started," Twilight said as she leaned her head in. "Okay, let's start at the— ouch," he said as he reached into his breast pocket and withdrew a small glowing key. "Oh, that's not good." "What's wrong, Doctor?" Ditzy asked. "Something's gotten into the TARDIS," he said as he pulled out a metallic rod with a green tip and pointed it at the key. "Luckily, I have remote control. You all might want to stand back." The mares got to their feet and stepped to the far side of the room. An odd noise filled the library as an outline of a blue box started to appear in the center of the room. The box stopped flashing and the stallion withdrew the key and inserted it into the keyhole. As he opened the door, the ponies looked in shock at the massive interior. The stallion rushed in to see an unconscious human lying on the ground. The stallion rushed to his side and withdrew the metal rod. The green light flashed as he waved it over the human. Isaac's eyes snapped open and he instantly got into a sitting position. "Are you all right?" the doctor asked as he looked at the human in confusion. "I guess. Where am I and who are you?" "You can call me the doctor, and you're inside the TARDIS. Speaking of which, how did you get in here?" he asked as the human stood up. "I opened the door, but I locked and cloaked it." "Right. I ran into it while trying to run away from some pony. I decided to lay low for a while," he said as he looked around the room. "It's bigger on the inside." "I love it when they say that," the doctor muttered to himself. The stallion immediately pulled out an odd machine and scanned the human. "What's that?" "This is my timey-wimey detector. It goes ding when there's stuff," he said as he scanned the human. Isaac looked at him in confusion. Suddenly, a green light appeared on the screen. "Oh, brilliant. Do you know what you are?" "Human?" Yes, but you're something more. You're a prime, he said as he giggled. A what? An original DNA strand. A fusion of DNA unlike I have ever seen, he said as he pulled out the wand again. Is that some type of probe? Twilight asked. Looks more like a screwdriver to me, Isaac said. Finally, someone gets it right, the doctor said as he scanned the human. Looks like a bit of human and pony, he said as he took a step back. So you're a pony? Isaac asked. He pointed the wand at the console, and a hologram of a tall man wearing a suit appeared before them. That's what I used to look like. You look human, Isaac said in amazement. No, you look Time Lord. We came first, he said with a smile. So what now? Ditzy said you could supposedly take me home. Sorry, I can't. Why? You're a fixed point in time. Nothing can interfere with it. Not even me, he said in a low tone. If I try to bring you home, then not only will you become an anomaly in your world, but we could make a hole in time and space the exact size of Belgium. Isaac's face turned pale. Okay then, wouldn't want that now, would we? The doctor started to look over the console, holding the implement. Well, get over here. You broke my machine. It's only fair that you help me fix it, the doctor said with a grin. Ladies, if you'd be so kind as to give us some privacy, the stallion said as he looked at the mares. Why? We're about to start some serious science, and I don't want to run the risk of blowing you all up, he said as Isaac walked up next to him. The mares gulped and made their way out of the TARDIS. Isaac looked at the stallion in confusion. You do realize I have no idea how to fix this thing, right? I figured as much. I just need you to go around and scan the systems with this, he said as he handed Isaac a small silver rod with a blue light at the end. Just start over there and tell me if something happens, he said as Isaac took the implement. The human pressed the button and the end started to glow. So tell me, Isaac, how did you get here anyway? Honestly, I have no idea. One moment I'm falling off a cliff, and the next I land in Twilight's library, he said with a shrug. You probably hit a rift. Oh, what? A small rift in time and space. They pop up every now and again. Sends things all over the place. Never seen a human go through one before, he said as he pressed a few buttons. What did you mean before, when you said I was a fixed point in time? You're here for a purpose. I don't know what, but it must be important, he said as he crossed a few wires. The room dimmed and then flickered back to life. There we go, he said with a smile. So you're a traveler then? Yep, I've been all around time and space, he said with a grin. One last thing. You said you locked this thing. If that's true, then how did I open it? The doctor looked at Isaac in confusion as he scratched his chin. I don't know. The TARDIS wanted you to come inside. You were meant to find me and this world, he said as he bit his lip. So destiny? I suppose, the stallion said with a shrug. Sorry, but this is where I take my leave. Nice meeting you, Isaac, he said as he offered him the implement. Keep it. Never know when you might need it, the stallion said with a smile. Isaac looked at him in confusion. Think of it as a late birthday present. Isaac looked at him in shock. How did you... Spoilers, he said with a smile. Isaac nodded and slipped the small tool into his pocket and made his way to the exit of the machine. He opened the door to see the other mares sitting down on the couch, their heads perked up as the human exited the machine. Hello, he said with a smile. How are you feeling? Twilight asked. Can't complain. The group looked behind them to see the blue box making an odd noise as it began to fade. After it had disappeared from the library, Isaac sat down on the couch with a quizzical look on his face. What's wrong? Rainbow asked. I feel like I'm forgetting something. As he finished his statement, the door opened to reveal a familiar red stallion. Oh, right, now I remember. Found you, he said as he walked into the library. Rainbow and Applejack got up to block the stallion's advance. Mac, calm down. Let me explain something to you. She was cut off as the human walked in front of them. Ladies, it's okay. Isaac turned to face the red stallion. Mac, you have every right to be mad at me, so as consolation you can hit me. The ponies looked at him in confusion. Once in the face, so make it a good one. The human put his hands over his groin and closed his eyes. Dash, AJ, don't interfere. This is my choice. The stallion cracked his knuckles and brought back his right arm. Isaac felt the solid fist connect with his face. The human staggered backwards and prevented himself from falling. Isaac grasped his face in pain. Good hit, Mac. Good hit. I'm surprised you let me do that. It's a custom where I'm from, and it hasn't been the first time someone's done that to me, he said as he looked at the stallion. We cool? Just a warning. Hurt my sister, and I'll snap you like a twig. Noted, he said as the stallion let out a huff and walked out of the library. Isaac rubbed his face. Applejack walked over to him and gave him a weak smile. I'm mighty sorry about that. It's fine, he said with a smile. So what did you and the doctor talk about? Twilight asked. Oh, human stuff, he said with a shrug. By the way, Dash, did you tell anyone about my stamina? He asked as he looked at the cyan mare. Maybe, she said with a smirk. Damn it, Dash. Fighting off Aloe and Lotus was hard enough. Now I gotta deal with a whole town of mares, he said in an irritated tone. Geez, I didn't know being liked by every mare in Ponyville would be a problem for you, she said with a shrug. Relax, I know how to handle this. I just need to lay low for a few days and this whole thing will blow over, he said as he let out a sigh. I still can't believe you and AJ, Twilight began to say. For the record, she lassoed me into the barn, he said as he glared at the lavender mare. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but she came on to me. Same with Rainbow. She got me while I was drunk. Twilight looked at her friends in confusion. The mares started to blush and averted their eyes from her. I'm just asking for a little consideration. I'm not some toy to be used at your convenience, he said in an aggravated tone. You okay, Isaac? You seem kinda stressed, Twilight said as she looked at the human. I'm fine, I just need to relax for a bit, he said as he started to make his way upstairs. Out of the corner of his eyes, he saw Rainbow and Applejack get to their feet. Alone, Isaac said as he looked at the two mares who had a disappointed look on their faces. The human shook his head and walked into his room. He saw a small note placed on the nightstand. Isaac, have sex in this bed again, and I'll turn you into a sheep. Twilight. Isaac crumpled up the note and threw it into the wastepan. He laid on the bed and let out a sigh as he drifted off to sleep.